Welcome back to the LFC Transfer Hub, your number one source for everything breaking at Anfield. First news is Arne Slot's pessimism reflects Liverpool's deeper crisis as Brighton loss exposes fragile squad. Second news is Steven Gerrard is right about latest Liverpool problem and Arne Slot needs major change. Now details. The seeds of Liverpool's defeat at Brighton took root long before Arne Slot's weary side departed Merseyside on Friday. Indeed, the Reds' demise began merely an hour after Wednesday full-time whistle had sounded at Anfield. The midweek win over Galatasaray was Liverpool's best performance of what has been an excruciatingly painful season. This, surely, was cause for celebration, however briefly. Yet walking into his post-match briefing, Slot's demeanor hardly inspired confidence as he downplayed Liverpool's chances of returning from the South Coast with 3 points. "For me, that is not realistic," was the Dutchman's pessimistic outlook on Liverpool's hopes of replicating that performance level twice in 4 days. Was that prescient, defeatist, or simply misguided? Skeptics would view it as a ready-made excuse. Regardless, his pessimistic prognosis came to fruition. Brighton was a worthy winner in Saturday's early kickoff, even Slot conceded so after the game. Danny Welbeck's brace proved decisive as Liverpool suffered a 10th Premier League defeat of the season, the most in a decade. Brighton, unlike Liverpool, had a week to prepare for this encounter, and there's no denying the informed Seagulls are vastly improved from the side Liverpool easily dumped out of the FA Cup a little over a month ago. That additional time on the training ground was telling in the second period, as fatigued Liverpool withered and a more assured Brighton asserted control. Perhaps that justifies Slot's pre-match assessment, which was made before he knew Alisson and Mohamed Salah would be unavailable to face Brighton, while Hugo Ekitike barely emerged from the starting blocks before he was hauled off with a dead leg. Less excusable was Liverpool's lack of fight and creativity and the abundance of individual errors, not least the misplaced passes before Welbeck's opener. This was not the commanding style of the reigning champions, more a timid venture from a flawed second-rate outfit. Welbeck and Herzler both spoke of playing with intensity and a more physical approach. It was a game plan that required little imagination. Slots could not have drawn more attention to Liverpool's Achilles heel. In addition to his post-match comments in midweek, Friday's press conference was dominated by a dejected verdict on the 62 hours between Liverpool's games, while even pre-match, he told TNT that you cannot compare a home game on a Champions League night with Brighton away. The die was long cast before Liverpool's players trudged out at the Amex. Their head coach had already given them the perfect excuse. Whatever the rationale behind Slot's words, it's a confusing stance, one completely out of kilter with an elite coach. Would Sir Alex Ferguson, Pep Guardiola, or Jose Mourinho allow such excuses to creep in, or would they simply demand more from their players? Even more perplexing, amid Slot's complaints of fatigue, was his decision to make just 2 changes to his starting lineup from midweek, with both enforced due to the injuries of Alisson and Salah. That Andy Robertson, Curtis Jones, and Rio Ngumoha were named among the substitutes for both matches was mystifying. More confusing still is how, after spending £450 million over $600 last summer, Liverpool's bench featured 3 teenagers, a defender who has never played a Premier League game, an injured Joe Gomez, and Federico Chiesa, who has started 1 league match all season. Admittedly, Slot has been dealt a rough hand with injuries, particularly with Ekitike's early withdrawal. It meant wide attacker Cody Gakpo was forced to play centrally, while the Reds finished the game with midfielders making up 50% of their back four. "They haven't got the squad to cope with the games at the moment," Steven Gerrard concluded post-match, a criticism that cannot be pinned on Slot. Perhaps it's no surprise that reports of Richard Hughes' summer exit are multiplying daily. Could the sporting director, rather than the coach, shoulder most of the blame for this regressive season? Yet, with each passing week it becomes increasingly difficult to justify Slot remaining in his post beyond the summer. He may retain FSG's support, but each mishap feels like an axe lopping into a tree that will eventually topple. Ironically, the managerial decisions elsewhere in the Premier League could save him. Liam Rosnier's premiership at Chelsea is following an all-too-predictable pattern with alarming results and performances. That said, the prospect of Everton 3-0 winners over the Blues on Saturday, catching their local rivals, looks increasingly plausible. Both the Toffees and Brentford trail Liverpool by 3 points, with the clubs to play Slot's side in the final 7 fixtures. Repeats of the lackluster showing at Brighton simply cannot be tolerated. Perhaps the most damning aspect of Saturday's defeat was not the performance itself, but how predictable it felt. Slot had inadvertently set the narrative. Whether he has time to shift, it will decide his future. Second news is Steven Gerrard is right about latest Liverpool problem and Arne Slot needs major change. Defensively capable of making a mistake at any moment and offensively lacking drive and ideas, this was another disappointing outing for Arne Slot's team, a bad cocktail, to borrow a phrase from the Reds' boss. Georgi Mamardashvili's lack of sharpness can be explained away by his lack of minutes. He has played a lot more than most second-choice goalkeepers this season, but nowhere near to the same extent as Alisson Becker, but for others, there was less in the way of mitigation. Ibrahima Konate has a tendency to have games like these, while Jeremy Frimpong was important in allowing Dominik Szoboszlai to stay in midfield but well below par individually. They were the worst, but across the board, Liverpool didn't show enough fight or quality. It doesn't help when you are missing one of the top goal scorers this league has had in the last 5 years for the whole season already, Slot said, referring to the absent Alexander Isak. The other one that has scored so many goals for the club over the last 8 years, Mohamed Salah, was not available as well, and then after 2 minutes, Hugo Ekitike. He has shown what a goal scorer he has to go out as well. That is a lot for every team, and that is not helpful for any team, let alone if you play a good Brighton team. That, of course, is true, and Steven Gerrard said similar, describing the loss of Ekitike as a major blow to Liverpool's chances of getting something because of the blatant lack of pace that was present without him there. But at some point, with time fast running out, Liverpool needs to stop finding reasons for dropping points and start putting them on the board. Everton may have done it a favor by beating Chelsea at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, and Manchester United didn't win. But if Liverpool can't start to pick up a few more victories, though, it will struggle to cement its spot regardless. If Liverpool is to qualify for the Champions League next season, it will be as much down to the limitations of those around it than anything else. At the moment, it is a battle of who can be the least worst. Though Liverpool is now up to double figures in terms of defeats, the Reds are still sitting fifth. Even more remarkable than the sheer number of losses that they are experiencing is that Slot's men, somehow, remain in a decent position to achieve their minimum aim. Last season, Newcastle qualified for the Champions League with 12 defeats, finishing level with Aston Villa, who missed out and had 10. With 7 games remaining, though, it would be a surprise if Liverpool went unbeaten from here. It will be near impossible to win the Champions League, and the FA Cup draw was not kind. But if Liverpool can get itself back into Europe's top competition next year, it can draw a line when the summer comes and reset. After a positive win midweek in Europe, that scenario feels as far away as ever again, but that has been the story of the season. If the campaign ended today, it would, somehow, be enough, but the reality is that if many more points will mean the Champions League slipping away, and few at Liverpool could complain of that being unjust.